Guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mona and this is my channel, Evolve with Monad. For those of you that are new here, I am a professional intuitive empath, and today we're going to get into a very quick lesson. A lot of us here have bemoaned our heartbreaks. I sure have. But the thing that you need to know, the positive takeaway from a heartbreak, is that every time your heart breaks and it cracks open, it releases data and information. I think of that song by Leona Lewis, Bleeding Love. We, in fact, do have heart bleeds. Excuse me, guys, as we were dealing with heartbreaks. But that bleed is information that we get to take into the next space in our life. We learn how we love, what we do and don't like, what we attract, what familial wounds we are healing and cleaning up, what family pathology we're working through, what darker, lower vibrational shadow side instinctual energy that we're putting others through. It is a wealth of information. The scientist and the teacher in me knows that it not only sets you free, no matter how shitty it is, and it is when you're going through it, but it is the harbinger of some of the greatest works of art and music there ever have been. Love in itself creates that too, my friend, so it's not all crappy. But when that heart breaks, do your data entry. And here's the message as to why it's so important. Journal it, write it, speak about it, sing about it, dance it out, walk it out, talk it out, but get it out. Because when you are assessing, like any good scientist, you're documenting your findings. And in doing so, you will not be hiding from yourself as you move into your future, which is inevitable. The greatest tragedy, guys, of heartbreak is to decide to never love again. It is to decide that you will never have someone hold your hand or kiss you or care for you or call you baby. One of my favorite quotes is by Maya Angelou. She said to Oprah in the last years of her life, I am 70 something years old and someone is still calling me baby. And I aspired to that. I wanted to create that, and I said, that will be my life. I don't care how many partners I go through, how many different iterations of love I get to have in this life, how many soulmates I encounter, or twin flames burn down. I will be at the end of this race with someone who still is calling me baby because I prize connection and relationship, and I would never let someone who is toxic or unevolved or immature steal that from me for the rest of my life. Certainly, guys, we shut down. But if you don't write and document your findings, guys, I'm dealing with a little asthma attack right now. It's so funny. So, yeah, breathe through your findings, also speak through them. But if you don't document your findings, what will happen is you will recreate it in your next person. That's why it's really important to take good notes. Virgoian energy of the hermit comes here, and it's so important to document and be a good student, to be studious. Because if you don't manage it and clean it up with the partner that God gives you, you'll create it with someone else, who is not good for you in so many ways, and then you'll find yourself bleeding for years instead of days. Don't do that to yourself. A lot of people had a lot of opinions about the way that I processed what I went through, but the truth is, I did it for me just as much as I did it for many of you. I had to get it out. And I didn't talk to people that had too many opinions about how they felt about it because it was too much. And are you still talking about this? Yes, because the truth is, all of us are still thinking about things that we pretend we're not. We compartmentalize it, we shut it down, we close it in, and then it manifests into internal real diseases because our metaphysical connection is real, but we do not pay attention. And the shamanistic energy that runs through my veins from past lives and into this one means that I know the mind, body, and soul connection. I get it. I understand how when we don't clean out our wounds, they will manifest physically. And I live it, unfortunately, lived it, unfortunately, on the other side of it. But it happened to me. And as I moved into love that was healthy and free, I did it scientifically by remembering my findings and even sharing them to some degree with my love, with my new energies, with my new friends, so that they could understand a little bit about me. But the person that needs to understand the most is the person that went through the ending, and that's you, whoever that is. That heartbreak cracks you open a little at a time. It makes it so that you can be truly introspective and deep truths you can find. Dark truths you can find. Truths that have escaped you. Truths that have confounded you about the way you love and the things you do, and the way you allow people to do things to you. People do what we allow, and we are teaching people how to treat us every day in minuscule and tiny ways. Where are your boundaries, my sweet empaths? Divine Feminine, where do you push back? When do you retire being a doormat? And if that hurt when I said those words, then you have some findings to document and you have some work to do. Because very much, my loves, when I heard those words, I was hurt too, but it was, in fact, the truth. The heartbreak that I went through, wouldn't wish it on my enemy. But I'm not going to lie and tell you it didn't bring out the best in me. It deepened my spirituality. It deepened my psychic gifts. It deepened my ability to understand when to run forward head first or to resist my own primal urges, my own needs. And I'm not just talking about sexuality, I'm talking about dark shadow energy. We are primal in all ways. And there were things that I would have loved to do for days and days, and there were games that I would have loved to have played. But I didn't indulge because I knew that to indulge would to be losing the ground that I did cover and that I did make when I endured the deepest part of the crushing heartbreak. The heartbreaks, there have been a few. And if you're living, and if you're here, and if you're listening, there have been a few for you too. Get out your pens and papers and notebooks, my students and my friends, because documenting that heartbreak is where the sidewalk ends. Little shout out to Shel Silverstein. When we document properly, we can once again get into the life cycle of being the giving tree. But now we are being mirrored by a tree that gives too. Because if you learn anything from that heartbreak, you learn what not to do. Codependency, message, are you with me? I learned so much about my codependency when my heart cracked open and the dark, ugly, creepy, crawly truths about myself I could see. You know, we love to point the finger. It was him, it was she. And to some matter of fact, it is true to a degree. But what are we in relationship for? Divine Feminine, Sweet Empath, Earth Angel, it is to learn more. And we learn the best when we're looking at thee, meaning our relationships are a mirror for us to see. That person that was terrible to the Dante's Inferno degree has a piece of you in them, and it brought you to your knees. The reason that we love the people that break our hearts so much, and they're the only ones that can break it that way, is because we love ourselves in a way to a certain degree, but also because we love them and we recognize them in us and they recognize us in them. When I cussed out that person and I wrote prose and I put paper to pen and I cursed her energetically again and again. And what I mean by that is not cursed in any kind of witchcrafty way, but just the way you would curse at somebody and say, F you today. F you today and for the rest of the days, that kind of way. When I was doing that, what I learned about myself is how I spoke to myself. What I learned about the heartbreak in the way that she treated me is how little she thought of she, how little her self worth was, how she put on a veneer, how she postured and walked around with these faux airs that of piety. And my angel said, look at her and look at you. What of your findings, dear scientists, dear anthropologists, do you see to be true? Do you see the mutuality between the two of you? Message. You see, I had posture too. We all sometimes can have imposter syndrome. One of my favorite quotes comes from a pastor that I used to know, ironically, who predicted a Jezebel spirit so true that was on the person that my heart did run through, that she did run through. Years ago, I took her to this pastor when I lived in Alabama, and he was more liberal, a hippie, and had a commune or two, not a cult. He was one of the good guys, I would say. He divested from the cult very early in the days. But I went to his house, and she sat next to me, pretty much on my lap, because we were as close as we could be. And we declared that we were in love because it felt good to be free in a place that was heavy with patriarchy. And he looked at me and he smiled, a knowing why smile, with the blue twinkling in his eyes and the crow's feet turning up. Then he pulled me aside and he said, I know you're having a wild ride. It looks like it's a lot of fun. But if I were you, Monette, I would run. That was 20 something years ago, and he wasn't wrong. Sometimes when you know, you know. When I asked him, how do you know? What's wrong? Can't you see we're in love? And it's just so strong. He said, she has a Jezebel spirit. And he said, you're a prophet, and you know this too. But because Jezebel spirits do what they do, you're pulled in because this darkness, in its own way, is a part of you. Message. Why did I enjoy the person that I did? Because ever since I was a kid, and I say a kid, figuratively speaking, we were in our 20s, there was a wildness that was in me too. I know that as I've examined my heartbreak about the things I will no longer do, the things I no longer subject myself to. See, when that heart cracks open, we finally get to see all of the craggy places where we hid, where we felt safe to be our lowest vibrational selves. What that pastor said to me, beyond telling me the truth of her Jezebel spirit and how it wouldn't end well, and again, he wasn't wrong, was that premature responsibility breeds superficiality. He was talking about her being a single mom. It was a topic that no one could get off of, but he talked about how she hadn't cooked properly and that a midlife crisis would be a spectacular explosion. He predicted it 20 something years before it happened. I forgot it until I started to do my examinations after the heartbreak. And I remember sitting in his sunlit room with all of his religious books strewn about and his many children, because he had many, running through the house as he talked some sense into me. But it wasn't until after the heartbreak when the light poured in and I could finally see. I want you to think of it like it from the movie Stephen King, when the clown cracks open and the light pours out and you can see what the whole darkness was really about. After my heartbreak, almost a year or two after I separated from that person, I remembered his words. They were words that I had pushed down because they were words that I wish I hadn't heard. Because when you love somebody, you love them. And when you're determined to save them, you are. And my God, sweet empaths, you know we'll go far to be a Captain Save-A-Ho, to put on our capes, don't you know? And I did. But upon my writing and upon my speaking, it was Pastor Paul's words that I heard creeping back into my memory. He had assessed me accurately. He had assessed the situation accurately. But what I learned about it is through examination after a heartbreak because I could finally really see the darkness that always resided in me, shadow side, living brightly and boldly in that relationship. And I could see my attraction to her because we are narcissists in our own way to a degree. No, we are all not narcissists. Hear me clearly. But there is a narcissistic aspect that we have as humanity. Think about a child screaming, bloodied fists, blood curdling cry, demanding to be fed, has no words, but it will be seen and taken care of. That is survival. And we all have that. But my empaths, that gets stomped out of us early on when we are dealing with toxic moms or dads who wish us bad and don't want to take care of our needs and just want to leave us be to fend for ourselves and figure out their hells because they didn't examine their heartbreaks. They did not do that well. So then they put that same toxicity into us. And instead of filling up our sippy cups with watered down juice, it was the poison from their youth that they fed us. That's why I say do your work, because we will inevitably bleed on people who did not cut us. Those of us with narcissistic parents know exactly what I'm saying. We became empaths because we had to anticipate which way their moods would be swaying. Shout out to Mowgli. Examine your heartbreaks. Spend time dwelling in them. You don't have to share it with every single friend you have because they will maybe turn to foes. Everyone doesn't have to know every single thought you have. This is my calling. This is what I am challenged to do. This is why I incarnated to communicate with you. And I don't mean just you listening today, I mean the collective. I am here to set me free. And if I can share some of what I've gone through and it helps to some degree, then my work here is done somehow, some way. It's about creating a legacy. So, what I will tell you is do your work. When the heartbreak hurts, and if those friends are overwhelmed, then don't talk to them. Hear me out on that. I didn't stop talking until I got Monette back. People opined, and they said it's too much. They said I can't bear the weight of your pain. It hurts to even see, let alone touch. And I felt for them because I am an empath through and through. But it didn't distract me from the work that I had to do. Were I to have held this in toxically, there would be something I would be diagnosed with. From they said within 3, so that what I'm hearing is within 3 years from here. Had I had not purged the death and the degradation and the humility that was heaped upon me from somebody else. But let's talk about shadow and mirror. I did it to myself. Yes, 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 there was a narcissist. Yes, 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 she was covert. But I was the one who continuously allowed the hurt. I am not victim blaming and I am not victim shaming, but I am owning the part that I did play in that grand theater. Life is but a stage, no? Each of us a part to play, yes? When you notice that you're playing with a narcissist, you know what I'm going to say. Divest. If it's just a regular toxic run of the mill person and your heart's broken, divest too. But then remember, after you've cried your tears and you've eaten your ice cream, and you've commiserated with your bestie, that only on your own will you have that work to do. Don't let anybody tell you it's too much. Don't let anybody tell you you've talked too long. Don't let anybody shut off your throat chakra and tell you you are wrong. You don't have to be me, clearly, but expressing and documenting is something you will have to do in order to get back to whoever is you. You feel me? Do you hear me? Do you understand me, empath? You have to get back to you. And you only do that when you peek over that big, scary edge. You guys, I'm scared of heights. So walking on a ledge is something that terrifies me. But once a year, I face my fears and I climb a lighthouse, 200 plus stairs, and I go to the top and I make a huge, big spectacle of myself as I will stand in the doorway and block it where no one can pass by until I can catch my breath and hold it, and I can go out and stand in the sky. And my eyes are watering as I say it because it freaks me out. But I do it because that's what life's about, facing your fears. I force myself and my body that is weighed down with gravity, that has battled every pound and every word hurled at me, and every naysayer and every bully, and I make myself ascend something my body says, not today, my friend, and I push forward and I breathe the rarest of air. I only do it once a year, and I didn't even get to do it the last two because of the pandemic, but I will tell you that push to see over that scary ledge will come true again. When your heart breaks and it cracks open, you're getting valuable information and data, but you have to climb into scary places and peek over so that you can not be beta, and that means going along to get along and simping. I want you to be alpha. Tackle your energy, get into your masculinity about your heartbreak. Look at it even though it aches. Look at it even though it makes you sick. Look at it even though you regret some of it, and understand that it was part of the human condition. It was what you agreed to when you incarnated and chose your parents to come through and learn those lessons. It's why you were attracted to a sparkling smile or a hair flip that used to drive you wild. It's why you were friends with the person who you shared laughter and you loved the same movies. It's why you got to be the best of who you could be so that one day you could discover the worst of who you could be and the worst of humanity, and then realize that it wasn't just in someone else, it was in thee. It's a scary ledge to peek over, but it sets you free. Document, document, document your journey. And that way, when you are stepping into rolling fields with butterflies and daffodils, and love is filling you up, and your cup is overflowing, and the sun is shining in, and you are traversing through the galaxies, you will know exactly how to buzz like the bees, how to sing like the birds, how to paint with all the colors of the wind, like every song you've ever heard. It'll be because you did your work. Good students know that comes first. And then we have recess. That's what's next. You have snack time coming up too. That's always the best. A lot of you guys are graduating to your next levels. You did your work. If you're listening to this channel, you're resonating a lot with my journey. We gravitate to readers that have seen things that we have also seen, and have been places that we have been. So heartbreak is over for you, my friend. You have dealt with a lot of the crushing parts, and you're still decompressing and compartmentalizing and picking it apart, and that's fine. But the sun is shining. I'm hearing, let the sun shine. This is no longer the house of the rising sun. That was foreboding. minor chords that struck a nerve. This is let the sun shine in. This is no longer you are my sunshine, because even though it once lit up your life, it is played in a bluegrass tone. I hear Alison Krauss. I hear the words pouring out of her mouth, but it's molasses. It's so slow. This is no longer a whiskey lullaby. This is understanding Cyndi Lauper's time after time. These are things we were meant to go through. These are things that enable to strengthen you. These are things that you signed up for before you incarnated, even though you forgot it, even though you hated it. It hurt. But I'm proud of you, because so many of you that I got to speak to did your work, and you continue to do it every day. You get up and you figure out new ways to play and to integrate your inner child and to connect your divine feminine and your masculine. And you say to yourself, with every shower, with every step, with every good choice, today I choose to begin again. And the end result will be that you are setting yourself free, and that you're loving, 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 but this time it's you, actually. It's you first, with boundaries. And like clockwork, time after time, as Cyndi sang in so many varying degrees, new love will soon appease. And so it is. So good to share energy with you guys this morning. Let's see if I have any comments, and I do. Nolan Monette, once you told me that I would find a special person, in a few years ahead. Does that mean I'll be alone all this time? Excuse me, Nolan. Let me take a sip of water. Pardon me. Okay, Nolan, here's the message. I haven't even fully read what you said. You have to start scripting and speaking out what you want. Nolan, it's going to be really important for you to do some mirror work. I did that whole kind of freestyle channeled thing, and I had no issues with my speech. So as soon as I read your message, that's what I heard from my angels, is mirror work and speaking to yourself, which you're bringing in. Let me finish reading your question. Does that mean I'll be alone all this time? Could that be my path? How have you been alone for a long time? Excuse me. Have you been alone for a long time? Good morning, Kesela. Okay, let me answer your question. No, that is not the nature of my path specifically. I am not often alone. I chose to isolate as I healed in the harder part of my journey, but that is not something that's called for me. Um, it's so funny. The counterpart that mirrored me loved misery and company in that, and poverty consciousness and the rest of that, and would have loved to see that I never loved again. And so I was very deliberate with understanding that I would be pulling that in. But it kind of finds me, you know. I've chatted, excuse me, about traveling with my bestie, and she can attest to this, seeing people literally chase after me. And it's weird because I'm not anybody's conventional anything. It reminds me of Maya Angelou's poem, I can't even talk. Let me see if I can get it right. Pretty women wonder where my secret lies. I'm not built or suit to fit a fashion model size, but when I start to tell them, they think I'm telling lies. And it's my energy. She goes on to say a lot of things that it is that made her special, because she was considered more of a handsome woman than a beautiful one. But I am not anybody's conventional anything. So to have the kind of energy that I have with people has been very interesting in the last few years, and it has a lot more to do with my energetic resonance and vibration than it does with my aesthetic. In any case, I'm also gregarious. I'm also a Leo sun sign. I'm on life path 3. People are part of my journey. So that is my path specifically. It'd be interesting for me to know what your life path number is, Nolan. So maybe that's some homework you can do today, is calculate numerology wise your life number. The next time you pop on a live, let's talk about that. And I have some videos up here about life path numbers, but I'm going to be making some more because now I'm fully ready to be back and chatting with you guys. Now, to answer your question, no, I don't think that that is your path. Just as I'm channeling, I don't think that that is your path. I don't think that you'll be alone the whole time, but I do think that you will have to do real work to understand when you manifest someone to come in. In my case specifically, I wasn't alone the whole time. My angels knew that the person that I've spoken about was going to betray me. And they were preparing me subtly because they knew I couldn't have handled it if I knew the full weight of it when it happened. So what they did was they sent my person in prior to the full betrayal. Now, the person I was dealing with was always terrible in her own way. If you listen to what I channeled earlier here regarding a pastor talking to me about her 20 years ago, people were always telling me she was horrible and trying to prove to me how she was disloyal and how she was always triangulating and how she cheated on everybody. It wasn't just me. So I can't like be a victim about that. She did it to her other partners that didn't look like me. So I couldn't make it about my size, my weight, or my body. She just was never satisfied. And she was quite avaricious and greedy, which is funny. I was the fat one, but she was greedy. She was truly, truly sloppily, slovenly, and greedy energetically. But what I will tell you is, um, I I don't think that my angels wanted me to just go through that pain. And what I've studied as I've done my work here is that when someone betrays you to that degree, then the same is true. I've heard a lot of stories that have similarities like me. So God was really gracious to me and introduced me to my new partner before that one fully betrayed me. And I would like to think that to some degree that new partner triggered her, but the truth is it was always going to go down the way it was. It's like a Shakespearean play. Things are going to play out the way they are going to play out. Even if you can see the foreshadowing on the wall, trust me, I tried to get the tower not to fall. The tower being a scorpionic harbinger of endings, death, and destruction. But the tower falls in the journey of the tarot because something wasn't functioning and it wasn't built properly. So, for my case specifically, and how my chart set up and how my incarnation and contract to come back in this life was set up, they sent me a person before the tower fell. I had no idea who she was, meaning I knew her and we were friendly, but I didn't know how much I would end up adoring her and loving her completely, and how much she would be an integral and daily part of my life. Would never have predicted it because I'm heavily boundaried and I'm also really territorial and protective of my friendships. So the person that betrayed me had seniority and took precedence. So I would have never ever replaced her. I would have never tried to upgrade her. Nothing. It was kind of like a miraculous occurrence. It happened in the best way, because had it not have happened, I would have stayed stagnant in a very unfulfilling, malnourishing connection. And my angels said, "We love you, Monette, and you deserve better." And I believe the same is true for you, Nolan. So no, I do not think that you will be by yourself the whole time. As empaths, we pour into people all the time, and I had poured into that person who was very toxic and a bottomless pit, and they said, "Don't you think you deserve it too? Don't you think you deserve someone to pour back into you?" Except the difference is you've done your work, you've done the data, and you know your worth, and you'll pour back into them as well. It will be reciprocal, and you'll have one of the best relationships you've ever had in your life, if not the best, regarding that kind of interaction. So that person came in beforehand, and so there was a very gentle handoff that was made, though I still wasn't fully embracing it. And you've heard many of my stories. I tried to push that person away, not purposely and not consciously, but she was exactly the right person for me. And I'm going to call that in for you too, Nolan, meaning I couldn't push her away. When I've told this story too before, but for anybody new that's never heard it, I was a hot mess the first year after it happened, well, probably about 4 months after, and I didn't have the emotional bandwidth to juggle, and I want to say juggle. I wasn't in the other relationship. I didn't have the emotional bandwidth to juggle my depression with formulating a new relationship, which new friendships are rather easy for me, and I was kind of distancing myself from her, and she called me on it, like any good bestie will do, and she said, "You're not breaking up with me." Breaking up in quotation marks here, obviously it was platonic, but she said, "You're not breaking up with me and I'm not going anywhere." And I just love her temerity and I love her masculine energy. Total, total, total ultra feminine. Probably the most feminine friend I've ever had. But she has really, really healthy masculine energy in a way that I need sometimes. And she pushed back. And she was like, "Not today, Satan." Meaning she was actually talking to Satan. She was like standing in the gap for me. And she was like, "You're not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. And you're not breaking up with me. You're having a moment. And I'm going to hold you while you get through it." And she did energetically. So that is my story. I think that some people will love you and become in your life at the right time. There could have not been a better friend for me. than what I had. I have to believe the same is true for you, Nolan, when you are ready. I wish loneliness on no one because I love people and companionship, as I just mentioned. So if you're on this channel, you also get to be soaking in the vibration that I create. I transmute energy, but I also create energy for people. And you and I have gotten a few chances to chat, Nolan. And so I'm creating that for you. Remember, I said you're going to have someone who loves your origin story just as much as you do, someone who's not embarrassed of you, someone who embraces you. And I'm calling that in for you. Now, if I were to do a prediction, though, I know I see there's more words here, so I don't know if it's something you're asking for clarity on. I felt energetically that that's what you're wanting. What I feel like is within the next 8 months, you have some new connections coming in that are going to be integral for you. And I don't think you're lonely for the next 8 months. I think you're going to be stepping back out into the world, but I think it's very par for the course as the rest of the world is waking up from our sleepy hollow regarding the panorama, right? On YouTube, we can't say the words because they're so sensitive. But you know, the panorama we've all just been in. You know the word, I know the word, we all know the right word, but yeah, flagging. So you are going to be slowly but surely, because I'm hearing slowly, surely, it's a song, and you're going to be stepping back out into yourself. And I want you to pull in the energy of this. So do some sound therapy. Remember, I said you need to do some mirror work where you're speaking to yourself in the mirror about your worth and that you deserve a good partner and that you are good looking and that you have a lot to offer and that you're a great companion, but you deserve a good companion. The song that I'm channeling for you right now is India Ari. I am ready for love. I am ready for love, all of the joy and the pain. More and more, she says, but it's all in the same vein. And I can actually sing that a little bit because she has a lower alto register that I can actually hit this early in the morning. I am ready for love, all of the joy and the pain. Now, listen, do you want to manifest pain? But here's the thing about love, there will be pain. It is what it is. It is par for the course. Loving a child helps you understand that too, because as much as you love them, there will be times when you can't protect them from life, and there will be things that they do that you don't agree with, and that's painful as a parent. Any parent will say that. So I want you to be realistic about these new friendships. They won't always knock it out of the park. They will sometimes let you down. They will not always acquiesce to your every desire, but they will be there to stick around and also raise you up. Josh Groban, you raised me up to stand on wings like mountains or something like that, right? So I want you to call in for yourself with a little bit of sound therapy regarding music, the best energy. Today, Nolan, dedicate yourself to music. I want you to put music on as soon as we're done with this live that reminds you of the best parts of love. On the wings of love, up and above the clouds. Maybe for you, since you're recovering, take these broken wings and learn to fly again, learn to live so free. That's a song that I played a lot when I wanted help. When I was manifesting a certain level regarding my career, I was playing Tina Turner, Make Me Over. I want to be made over. Make me over, make me nice. And when I'm done, I want to have a good life. Make me over. And my God, I sang that 7, 8 years ago, and I got every single thing that I wanted. One of the songs when I was manifesting love was her song, Tina Turner. When I was a little girl, I had a rag doll. That song, only doll I've ever known. Ba-dum, boom, boom, ba-dum. Yeah. And I'm gonna love you like I love that rag doll. Only now my love is grown and it gets grown up. Yeah, I can't sing these notes, but every day, and I'm in a love that's grown in the grownest kind of way, and I'm so grateful. But it happened a lot with music. Music is a very powerful manifesting tool. That's why Lucifer, who was a fallen angel, XYZ to the third power, used music. He had all of the instruments within his frame, is what they said, and so music is incredibly powerful. So I want you to put some music into your head, and I need you to do some mirroring work. Now you do your homework and you report back to me, Nolan. Okay, in a couple weeks I'll be on another live, and I want to hear your progress because I'm expecting movement and momentum. We speak that over you, and so it is. But I want you to really think about the music that brings it in for you. What does love feel like for you? And for me, when I'm in love, sometimes it's sexy and sometimes it's happy and sometimes it's free. I think I'll go for a walk outside now. The summer sun's calling my name. That's when I just feel happy. When I'm chilling with friends, there's certain music that I'm playing. We all have soundtracks to our life. I want you to make a love soundtrack. When I was ready to fall in love again, energetically, figuratively, platonically, romantically, I make playlists. So do the same. We all have streaming services we subscribe to. They're taking all of our coins. Please make them do the work for you and manifest your next friendship or love, boo, whatever it is for you, Nolan. Anyway, within 8 months, you have several people coming in. You're going to have some choices. The card that comes up here is the Seven of Cups. So you need to choose wisely. The Seven of Cups is about making sure you're vetting properly. And that begins us to the lesson that I taught this morning, just now, that channeled through. Thank you, angels. They do what they do, which is, did you do your data entry? Did you take your notes after the heartbreak? Do you know what you really want? Do you know who you are? Are you willing to say what you need to say when new love comes into play? Because after a heartbreak and the light shines in, now we can really find our way. And I speak that over you, Nolan. So no, you will not be alone this whole time. A true love you will find as soon as you align your soul with your mind. Get that music playing. Your angels say it's time. Let me see if there's anything else here. Thank you, Monette, for your answer. I do remember parts of your story from other videos. I feel your love and energy. I'll make my love playlist. M says your words are so powerful. Thank you so much, whoever M is. So nice to meet you. I don't know if I've seen you here. MT, hey, thank you for joining me this morning. All right, my loves, that's all I've got for you. I don't have clients right now. Sometimes I do. Right now I was just up and feeling wonky and just doing things, and I love you, and I just wanted to share that with you. Document your heartbreak. Don't listen to the naysayers that hate until you've talked too much about it. Get it out of you, because that's the only way you get to the next thing that brings the real love in. And the real love always begins. Every cliche is true. Just like Mama Ruth says, how you gonna love someone else if you can't love yourself? The real love begins with you. I love you guys so much. Come back and join me next time, and we will continue to evolve together.